Welcome back to another episode of the Winners Club podcast, where even when we don't win, we learn, and learning is a form of winning. I'm your host, Brian Tran. PJ Padua's out on vacation. He's turning the big 3-0, so we're going to give him a break. But today, guys, I got a very special guest. I got none other than Dave Seymour, CEO of Freedom Ventures, and we're going to go into all of it. This man's been through war. This man's been through everything, and I think we have a lot to learn today on this episode. So, David, thank you. Dave. Not David.
Doesn't matter, man.
Let me redo
Listen
it.
to
Let
me,
me
Brian. No, don't redo anything. Listen, watch this. Watch, my man. If you edit any of this, I'm going to be pissed, and I'm going to tell people. So watch. Right? It's such a good opportunity. First of all, the big 3-0 ain't no big 3-0. I'm coming up on the big 6-0, baby. That's a big one. And the other one is this, right? We get into flow in life and in business, and you're getting into flow in your podcast. And then I said Dave instead of David. And our immediate response, watch, it's so good. It's a learning lesson right out of the gate. Immediate response is, I got to do that right. No, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. Because I promise you, bro, me as the other guy on the end of this podcast, we cannot screw this up. God is good. The conversation's going to be driven. We'll see where we go. So, David, just don't call me late for dinner. That's all.
You see, guys, even when we make mistakes, we learn. I only say that because my brother is actually David, and so I always interchange Dave, David, D. Yeah. And so it's so.
My wife calls me David. Yeah. My kids call me Dad. Right. Most people in my career and in my friendships, they call me Dave. In the fire department, I was known as Big D. So, we can use whatever you want.
That's awesome. Well, let's get right into it. I mean, you and I, we share a very similar background in the sense of, we're in the real estate space. Now, you're years ahead. You're now into syndications. You're now into big developments. You're doing a whole lot, big apartment buildings. I want to get there too. So we're going to dive into that. But really, take us back from the start. Why firefighting? And then how did you go from firefighting to real estate? Because I'm not going to lie, firefighters earn a very good living. And it's a job that people don't typically leave. Yeah. So walk us through that.
Yeah, so there's a context to everything, right? When I left the fire department after 16 years and didn't get to full retirement, people would question, what are you, crazy? What's wrong with you, man? That's a good government job. But you got to rewind. You have to rewind and put it into context. And I'll make it somewhat brief. I wasn't born in the States. I'm an immigrant to America. I was born in England. I was born in London. Grew up in the south of England in a blue-collar, working-class environment. My dad was a heating and air conditioning guy, and my mom was a secretary at a bank. A father, not to exclude any women that listen to this show, but a father is a model, is a blueprint for a son on how to be a man, how to earn a living, how to be respectful, how to, everything. Sports, right? Look to dad. And my father was a blue-collar guy himself from the East End of London, and he was one of five kids, and seven kids, 5 brothers, 2 sisters, and it was all working class, right? So when you take that kind of environment and you get information in, you then have information out. So what was the information in? Real simple, one sentence. David, work hard, son. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. Do the right thing. Keep your nose down. Grind hard, son. Keep your head down and do the right thing, and all will be well, which is good blue-collar mentality. But what that doesn't do is create any financial freedoms. Financial freedoms are created through financial intelligence, of which I had zero. They didn't teach it in school in England. They don't teach it in school in America. They do not teach financial education. You can go and get a financial, right? You could, right?
Years later, they still don't.
They still don't. They could, you could go to Harvard, you could go to Yale, and you can get yourself a financial degree, and all you learn is how to step into the existing financial model, which is designed to make the ones at the top of the pyramid wealthier rather than service us or me as a working class kid. So anyway, I come to America, and that's my financial background. Zero. Financial intelligence, zero. I was a financially illiterate, is the truth of it. It really is. And Brian, with that, in America, there's dreams, right? You have an opportunity. It's the greatest country in the world, brother. We have an opportunity here to do whatever we want, no matter our ethnic background, financial background, whatever we've come from. It's ours to choose to what to go towards. But for me, was with that financial illiteracy, keeping up with the Joneses was a drive, right? So
Yeah.
MasterCard and Visa, they work overtime. So if MasterCard and Visa are working overtime, guess what? I got to work overtime. Job number one, fire department. Go get a good job, government job, Dave. Fire department, 46 hours a week. MasterCard, Visa overtime. David can't work enough overtime. So now
Yeah.
I got to get the second job. Second job, construction. 3 other firefighters, building decks, digging ditches, kitchens, blah, 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 blah. I'm a businessman now. It's my first taste of the business world. And guess what? I learned very quickly, my brother, as the business owner, I was the last one to get paid. I
Yeah.
was the last one to get paid in that business. MasterCard and Visa working overtime. I got to work overtime. Job number three, retail security, bro. I was a store detective jumping up and down on shoplifters. Miserable human being, an absolutely miserable human being. And without exaggeration, I was banging out about 127 hours a week,
Wow.
trading my time for somebody else's money. There's a price that's paid for that financially, emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of guys will go to the booze and the drugs for some relief, right?
Yeah.
They'll go get some relief from that world. So that's where it all started. And what happened is that after 16 years in the fire department, if we just double back a couple of years from that, going into the crash of 2008, 9, 10, the real estate market prior to that was easy. You had to be a complete idiot to not make money because everything was going straight up, right? But for me, what I had done was I'd been sucked into the ignorance world of refinancing my primary residence. And I was a victim of the subprime lending. I was losing my primary residence. I couldn't work any more hours. My wife's at home like, what the heck are we doing? What's going on? I was trying to be a husband. I was trying to be a father. I couldn't be any of those things. And I took my F-250 down to the beach where I live up here in Massachusetts, Lynn Beach, where I worked as a firefighter. And I'm sitting in my pickup truck, bro, and I'm screaming and shouting at God, my God, like I'm going to rumble with the big guy because I took something from my father. And what he gave me was don't lie, cheat, or steal and work hard. And I did all of those things. I didn't lie, cheat, steal, and definitely worked hard. I was good at trading time for money, right? And I'm screaming at God, like, give me an answer. And there was none. I didn't hear anything. And it was almost biblical for me in the sense like I'm screaming. Do you know I'm here? I'm a broken man. I don't know what to do. I'm sober, so I couldn't go drink. I've been sober 35 years now. I couldn't give up my sobriety back then. It was 10, 11 years of sobriety, whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I heard nothing. I turned the ignition on in my truck to drive home and tell my wife we're losing the house. It's all over. And there was a commercial that came on the radio, bro. And it was Teach Me Foreclosure, a free 1.5 hour seminar coming to your neck of the woods. Learn how to do real estate with no money down. And I still get the God bumps pop up on my arms today, man. And I hear that and I'm like, what? Like it was a moment, man. It was an absolute moment of change of direction in my life. I scream home to my wife. I said, I figured it out, baby. I asked God. I got the answer. We're going to be real estate investors.
Okay.
She looks at me, Brian. She looks at me, brother, with, I don't know if any other man listening to this show has ever had that look from his better half, but she looked at me like, oh no, what's next, right? Here we go. But then she said something to me. She said, whatever it is you want to do, I support you. And that's where the journey started into real estate. And I invested in myself, $30,000 that I didn't have in my education. And I started to buy other people's failures. That's what I did. I bought myself some accountability and I bought myself some failures that other people had made because I needed to be coached and trained. The motivation was there. Motivation is temporary. To create permanency, you got to get discipline and repetitions and follow the plan. and that's where it all took off. So that's kind of like a, a
I have
condensed
three
version, but
questions
that's
for
it.
you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number one, are you still married to the same woman way
I
back
am.
when?
I am.
A strong
Yeah.
rock. For those of
Yeah.
you listening, I'm married. I have two kids, but a
Yeah.
strong partner
Yeah.
to me is probably one of the most crucial, you know, aspect of business.
Yeah. How
Because
long have
when
you been
times
married?
get hard, like what
How
you
long have
just
you been
explained,
married? Yeah, go ahead.
we're now approaching 8 years. Oh,
8 years.
geez. I mean, you're gonna get me in trouble, Dave.
You can't edit. We already made an agreement.
Good
You're gonna
thing
have to
is
deal
that
with that when you get
she
home.
doesn't really listen to my podcast. She supports me on all the other stuff, but she doesn't listen to the podcast. She's had enough of my talking. She doesn't need to hear it in the
Yeah.
car. You
Yeah,
know.
I hear you. I hear you.
But honestly, similar story. Without her being
Mm,
the foundation that she is, I would
mm,
not be able to go out and be as
mm,
risky and
mm.
jump into new ventures, which then
Yeah.
has led to
Yeah.
success. And so it sounds
Yeah.
like for you, you were going to lose the house,
Yeah.
and she could have easily said, "Hey, stop.
Yeah.
Go back to your regular
Yeah.
job and
Yeah.
earn more money. Trade your time for money." But she didn't.
I was
So,
all
guys, I
out.
mean, that's what you look for. I don't know how you find that. To be honest with you, I'm not a dating coach, Dave. Maybe you can tell people, but what kind of aspects they're looking for in a partner.
So
But
so what's interesting with my wife, Mary Beth, you use that term rock for yours. And that's so on the money, bro. I kind of coined a phrase over the years that she's the rock that I get to stand on so I can look cool, right? And if you think about standing on a rock, maybe it demeans the rock, but that's the foundation. My faith and my family are my foundations, right? But we went to that free class that I heard on the radio, and at the end of that was an investment for more education. Like I said, it was $30,000. And I remember it was Sunday, and I said to Mary Beth, I said, baby, what do you think? She said, well, what do you think? And I started telling the truth probably for the first time. And I said to her, I can't trade any more time for money, babe. I said, I'm losing connection to you. I'm losing connection to the kids. I'm losing connection to my God. I said, it's so disconnected. I said, if I make a decision to go, I said, it's going to be go, baby, go. I said, watch out, right? That's just my DNA, my personality. And she said to me, she said, go get him, killer. She said, I'm proud of you, baby. She said, I love you.
when
That's where it
your
came from.
back is up against the wall, you're about
Yeah.
to lose your home.
Yeah.
Where did you come up with the $30,000
Well,
to?
that's a great part of it. She said, go get him. I'm proud of you. I said, I'm so glad you said that because I maxed out all my credit cards, babe. We got to use yours. And that's where it started. She had enough room left on her credit cards to be able to buy our education. And I say our because she started with me, but she couldn't keep up.
Mm.
Once I got out of it, like you say, your wife's sick and tired of listening to you. My wife's the same way. She's like, when I first started in real estate, my kids were small too, and I'd be like working these deals and making this money in real estate. I'm a player, just ask me, right? And I'd be
Yeah.
all that in a bag of chips. And then I walk in the door and she'd say, I don't care what you did today, that diaper needs changed. You know what
How
I mean? It would be
how
like,
old were the
wah.
kids
So
at
she
the time?
kept me grounded. Yeah, it was good. It was good stuff. Yeah.
How old were the kids at this time?
Um, so when I was in the thick of early real estate investing, my smallest was maybe 6 months. And my next up, my Jefferson, my middle kid, he's 2 years older, so he was maybe two and a half.
Yeah.
So we had little babies. We had little babies, and because of the education space, the people that taught me and inspired me noticed that I was getting results. They
Mm.
noticed that I was doing what they were teaching and getting the results. And they asked me, they said, would you consider teaching yourself? Would you be an educator? And I looked at these guys, Brian, and I'm like, you guys are out of your trees. What are you talking about? Bro, I'm still paying down $70,000 in unsecured debt. I'm working a short sale on my own primary residence. And you want me to get on a stage and be a guru? They're like, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. And there was this old timer. His name was John Childers. He was an old school educator, platform speaker. And John pulled me aside and he said to me, Dave, he said, you've got a gift. He said, you got a gift. When you tell a story, people listen. He said, now what you can do is you can report somebody else's success. You don't have to make up any crap yourself. He said, the one thing I beg of you, he said, if you stay in this industry of education and training as you're building your real estate business, he said, stay in integrity, man. He said, just stay in integrity. You don't have to lie to be successful. And I've learned along the way that there are a lot of liars in our business. There are a lot of bad actors. You can even get it in some of these larger mortgages. They've got clauses in there for bad actors. You know what I mean? So, I just stayed the course. I stayed the course, and she took that ride with me. And it wouldn't be where I am today without her, without the education and the foundation that I invested in early on.
How long did it take you to get your first deal after you took the course?
Yeah, I probably had my first deal done within 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so the market crapped the bed, bro. If anybody said to you, what do you do for work? And I'd say, well, I'm a firefighter, but I also am a real estate investor. And when you said real estate investor in 2008, 9, 10, people will go, oh, I'm sorry. Like you had some transmittable disease.
Yeah.
And, I followed the plan that the people had in front of me. And the first deal I did was a wholesale transaction. I wholesaled a bank-owned property using a real estate investment trust document that allowed me to step into the equitable interest in this piece of real estate. And here's what it was. It was a 2-unit property in Lynn, Massachusetts, where I worked as a firefighter. It was my own neighborhood. This 2-unit property during the subprime had been refinanced 4 times, maxed out. I think it was around $540,000, $600,000 for a 2-unit property.
Mm-hmm.
The owner of that property refinanced it, took all the money out, took out the water heater, the copper pipes, the floors, the walls. All that was living in there were pigeons on the 3rd floor of this 2-family unit, crapping all over the place. So I went in there and I made an offer of $70,000 to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
The bank refused it. I waited another 3 months like my coaches told me to do. I went back in and I put another offer in at $35,000. They counted, and what I also did was I took pictures of the fire department, right? The fire department taking pictures in hazmat suits of all this pigeon doo-doo caca, which is technically a hazardous waste scenario, right? So I got all this documentation to support it. They asked me if I'd do the deal for 40. I said yes. I wholesaled that transaction to another investor, again, using a trust document, which I had learned from my coaches. And we walked away with a $40,000 profit on that deal, made about $30,000. There was a $5,000 assignment fee in there as well. So once you make $5, $25, $30,000 on a transaction, especially 14, 15 years ago, it's enough to send you in a different direction. Like your trajectory changes dramatically. So that was within 6 months. I would say 6, 8 months of finishing the training that I had invested in.
So this course that you bought was basically teaching you how to wholesale. It sounds like.
Well, yeah, there was an OG, right? He was the original guy of the large investment companies, Mr. Whitney. I don't mind mentioning his name. And what he did was he packaged up 5 classes. There was lease option, wholesaling, rehabbing. I think there was subject to was one of them as well. I paid for 5 classes. I only did 3. I only did 3 of the 5. But I implemented enough to get recognized and noticed. And then the guys, like I said, from there, once you get into that funnel of education online in any concept, you start getting bombarded, right? You start getting all kinds of shiny things dangling in front of you. And, I invested in some websites and that opened the doors for me to get into the education space going forward. So interesting times.
At what point did you quit the firefighting?
Yeah, this is going to sound, this is not going to sound good. It's going to sound egotistical. But there came a time within 16 months, 14 months, around that period of time, it cost me more money to go to the fire department than to not go to the fire department. Like my opportunity expenses outside of the firehouse were it was ridiculous. Look, you got to understand, brother. I would sit in the firehouse and pray that the phone would ring so I could earn an extra $200 to do a 14-hour overnight shift, overtime on top of my 46. And I just told you, I made $5,000 on a wholesale, 30 grand on another wholesale with the bank. That changes perspective. You can very quickly pay down that unsecured debt. You start
Yes.
getting better choices. I mean, look, I don't want to segregate the sexes, but as a man, I wanted good choices for me and my family. I wanted to go to a restaurant and not care what the cost of the meals were. I wanted to live a freer lifestyle and do it through good works. Good works, good service. Didn't want to be a drug dealer on the corner, man. I want to deal real estate. So yeah, that's why I left.
I think let's take a moment there because, what you just said there, it cost you more to be in the firehouse than it did to work in your own business.
Yeah.
Was the defining moment when you said, let's quit? I think for those of you guys listening out there, and I have a lot of friends and family that are in the nursing business, they're in many of these great service
Mm.
that serve the community very well.
Mm.
But at some point, they need to understand that their talents, their skills can better serve somewhere else. And that's really, I think, what you were able to define.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not here. Like I said, this podcast is really to just lay it out there for people. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
everybody should be an entrepreneur. I don't think that that's the case. But I
Sure.
do see a lot of people who have the skills, the traits. And I'm just like, you need to bank on yourself, you know?
Again, it's information in, information out, right?
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned nurses. My wife is a nurse. Mary Beth that's where I met her. I was doing paramedic training for the fire department, and I had to go do 24 hours of labor and delivery at the local hospital. And she was the labor and delivery nurse that I got assigned to. So we both have that service oriented piece in us. And let's be frank, we could have earned a good life together and not needed any entrepreneurship. But you have to remember how we started this conversation, bro. I
Yeah.
brought financial illiteracy with me,
Yeah.
right? When I brought that to the table, that's a loser's bet right out of the gate. There are people who work for other people who
Hmm.
can do exceptionally well in their lives and be comfortable if they
Yeah.
don't have some of the deficits that I carried personally. So I had no choice. I had no choice. And when I look back at my career, you'll appreciate this. When I look back at my career in the fire department, I was never a good employee. I would like
Why
to
is
say I
that?
was a great firefighter because I knew better, man. I knew better. I'm in a militaristic structure and I'm watching these bookworms get promoted to lieutenant and captain and district chiefs. And I'm like, I'm a judgmental guy sometimes. I'm like, that guy's a donkey. He doesn't
Yeah.
have the balls to run into the building. He doesn't have the balls to stick an IV in somebody's neck when they're hanging upside down at a car wreck. They don't have the chutzpah. They don't have the gumption. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd be like, I'd be in this battle all the time. And what it turned out to be is, I quit a job. I quit a job at 60 hours a week, we'll say, so that I could become an entrepreneur and be free and work 100 hours a week. But here's the thing, bro. I lived and died by my decisions. I stepped up. I stepped
Yeah.
up to the gate. And here's the beautiful thing of this, brother. Have you got boys or girls? How old are your kids?
7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl.
You are a lucky man. So watch. They watch what we do, man, just like I watched my father.
Yeah.
So my 15-year-old, check this out. He says to me, Dad, I'm thinking about college. I go, okay, Jeff, what do you want to do? I want to go to whatever, Richmond to a Christian academy down there. I go, that's awesome. I go, what's your drive? What do you want to learn down there? He goes, doesn't matter what I learned, Dad. I just want to hang out with the people that I'm going to employ when I graduate. That's why he wants to go to college, right? He's
All
doing his
right.
research and development about how to socially interact with people that he's going to employ when he graduates. Now, somebody might hear that and say, what an egotistical, cocky kid. There's a
Yeah.
difference between confidence and education and implementation and resources being used than just settling for less. And that was the challenge, settling for less over and over. So they're watching us all the time, man. They're watching
I
us all
agree.
the time. They want to see what signals we're putting out.
It's funny because somebody asked me, why don't you stop? Why don't you slow down? And
What?
I'm comfortable. I live a great life. We can go on
Sure,
vacation. But I said,
sure.
and I learned this from actually Patrick Bet David. I knew internally I can't
Yeah.
slow down, but he said it in a way that really hit home. And he said,
Mm.
I have young kids. I can't afford to slow down because I can't let the young one see that I'm not pushing it, to the limits
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
single day.
Yeah.
The older
Yeah.
kids got to see it,
Sure.
but the young one doesn't.
Sure.
I would be
Sure.
doing the young one a disservice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's how I feel. My kids are young. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if I want them to be F ups, then I'll stop.
Yeah.
But they know every day I'm up at the crack of dawn. I'm at the gym. I come home. I get their breakfast ready. I walk them to school. I'm at
Yeah.
work on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we're working, I bring them with me,
Yeah.
and they can see
Yeah.
it and they know all this stuff because we have nice things,
Yeah.
and they'll
Yeah.
never know what it's like to not have nice things. But at least they know that it's earned and not given, and
Yeah.
they will have
Yeah.
empathy and compassion. Right? They'll never be able to sympathize and understand that what it's like to not have it, but at least they'll understand a little
Right.
bit more. And then hopefully, I
Yeah.
think that's what prevent them from being
I
little f
took
ups.
my kids. I took my kids with me to so many of my flips. I've
Hmm.
got videos of my kids on construction sites with me at 3, 4, 5 years old. You know, giving me advice on how to fix the house, or they knew all my guys. Like my guys
Yeah.
would see my little boys coming, and they'd like stand up straight. The boss's kids are here, and my kids would laugh, and I'd have my boys give the guys pizzas. Go give the guys their pizzas. Okay, Dad, we'll go get them. Guys, we got pizza. Like they learned how to be on a construction site and how to interact with other people in a way that was never hierarchical, right? It's not hierarchy. It's not I'm the boss, you do what I tell you to do. It's like, hey, what can I do to make this situation good for both of us? And they saw that, man. God bless. They saw that. They got to see, how to treat people well, and make good money along the way. So I don't know where you can go for that kind of schooling other than on the street, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where else you can do it. You can't do it in a suit in an office somewhere. I don't think. Maybe you can. I don't
Mm.
know. I know what I know.
Yeah.
I get to see the rewards of that. I'm the father of a 30-year-old kid from a prior marriage. My oldest boy Robert, my 15-year-old Jefferson, who I mentioned, and then my 13-year-old Bennett. And he's my nemesis. He's my go-to. He's my. Come on, Dad, let's rumble. You know what I mean? Like I love that in him. I got to beat him down every now and again, but it's all good. I just said to him the other day, I said, "Why are you challenging me?" He goes, "What?" I go, I set the foundation, bro. You know the rules. Why are you challenging me? "Oh, I don't know." I go, "Dude, you will never be the big dog in this house. I'm teaching you how to be the alpha dog when you get out in the world." I said,
Yeah.
"But this is my kennel. Woof.
Yeah.
I'm the alpha dog." I said, "You let me know when you want to go." And here's the important thing, and I translate in business was there are times, right? And if you're a parent, the kids grind you, man. They grind and grind. And, I'm sure your princess tries every angle to work daddy's love. And your little
Cries
guy
every
wants to
time she
give it,
can get her way. Yeah.
grind it. And I said to my wife the other day, I said, "They're grinding." She goes, "I know. I'm taking a break," she says, right? Because real estate allowed my wife to quit nursing and raise my boys. Okay.
Mm.
She never went back to work until recently, actually, and that's because she was bored. But
Yeah.
I said to her, she said, I'm taking a break. I said, "Mary Beth," and I made sure my little guy could hear me because he's the challenge. I said, "Dude, I am never, watch my lips, Bennett, never going to quit. Do you understand? You're not going to pull your BS, your 13-year-old teenage dude." I
Yeah.
said, "I am always going to be there. When you turn
Yeah.
around, you're going to see me, no matter where it is, no matter what you're doing." And it just equates into business, man. I think about what I was doing at 15 years old, running around the south of England, causing terror. My
Yeah.
15-year-olds, working at church and crushing it in school and thinking about his future in a way that I never could. So I'm entrepreneurship. The
Yeah.
pain of financial illiteracy gave me where I am today. That's my failing.
Yeah.
But once I overstep that mark, and you get me going, man. You're like, how much time do we have? We can go for hours.
Yeah, we have enough
Here's
time. Yeah.
here's the thing, brother. Here's the thing. I don't know how you feel about this. I had a mentor say to me one time, I can teach you a philosophy or a concept. I can teach you a transactional deal. I can teach you all of those things. He said, but if I teach you a philosophy and
Mm.
you resonate with it and you become aware of it, he then kicked me right in the nuts, man. He turned around and he said, here's the thing. Once I teach it to you, you can't ever unlearn it. Once you're aware, you can't ever be unaware again. Once I show you that there's good debt and bad debt, once I show you that a 401k is a loser's bet, once I show you that equity in a house is a loser's bet, once I show you, he said, and you're aware of these things, you can't ever be unaware again. You can't ever blame somebody else ever again. He said, you have to look in the mirror and own it.
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to go forward? It's almost like, sir, yes, sir. You know what I mean? Like that's how it felt at those moments. But I never forgot that. Those are all defining moments that lay bricks, right? Lay the foundation to be able to look at situations with confidence and say, yeah, I can execute on that. I can do that. As long as I put the right team together, I can do that. So yeah,
What were
you
some,
get me going, bro. You got me on the soapbox.
well, now you got me excited. What was some of his greatest lessons to you? What did he show you that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, man. I mean, the first time I allowed my mind to be opened up to coaching and mentorship and understanding was that first 3 day class. There was a guy that stood up there for 3 days and he started sharing what the wealthy people do and how they look at transactions, right? You ask anybody that's a high net worth individual, an ultra high net worth individual, the individuals that invest with us, for example, if you ask them what their portfolio looks like, there's one thing in there I promise you they don't have, and that's a 401k.
Right.
They don't have them. They don't have them. They might have them for their employees because there's definitely an upside for the employer to get
Yep.
the employees to go into 401ks. I run a whole course, a whole training course on 401 chaos, right? Understanding what the system is like and how it's rigged. And when you start looking at the information in and information out, it's no wonder, that the middle classes are shrinking over and over and over and over again. It's no wonder that there's so much poverty out there. And it's nothing. It's nothing more than, like I said, an awareness. So some of the things for me, I started learning how money works. If money sits in a big pile, it stinks, bro. It stinks like manure. But if you
Mm.
get money and you sprinkle it around a little bit, you start working it a little bit, well, guess what? Then things grow. It really is truly like that. Money was designed to not sit still. Because as a working class kid, I was told, save your money, boy, put it in the bank. You only use your credit card on a rainy day for an emergency. I remember thinking to myself, what's the emergency, Dad, and how much is it going to be? And he didn't know. Then I get into real estate. MasterCard and Visa, yeah, they're still my very best friends, but now I use them to make money. You know what I mean? Like American Express, oh, my very best friend. Oh,
Yes.
I get Mr. Seymour, how are you? Come on in. It's American Express, right? Because I know how to use credit. I understand credit. Like these things began to motivate me. And they also said to me, they said, there will come a time when, the decisions in front of you are going to be too much for one person to handle. And then they
Mm.
said, you have to be able to look to your left and your right and see what that team structure is. Are you in a partnership? Are you a lone wolf? Are you a lone ranger? And the guy said to me, he said that the guy who runs on their own is going to have an easy target on their back. He said
Mm.
the guy that runs in a pack, it's okay to be the leader of the pack, but make sure you got a pack. He said, make sure you got a group around you that's all rowing in the same direction. He said, when you start to create that environment where everybody wants to win and win together, he said, magic happens. And if you got faith with you as well, let God row the boat and steer the ship. It's a good day in the office. And I'll leave it with this. Just one beautiful thing I never ever forgot. said to me, Dave, always put people first and profit second. If you can commit to that in every decision that you make, you will do well. You might not make as much money as the other guy, but I promise you, you'll sleep well at night. And I never forgot that either. So there's hundreds of them, man, hundreds of them. I mean, I've worked on my mind, I've worked on my systems, my processes, I've worked on my ability to negotiate. I mean, there ain't a lot of areas that I haven't touched to bring some benefit to the company and also personally. So, yeah, that's a big question too.
When you broke it all down, what the ultra wealthy do,
Mm,
they look at the big picture and they
mm-hmm.
look at it in a long timeline, not short, not 1 year,
Yeah,
not 2 year, not three
yeah,
year, but
yeah,
the longer it is, the more money
yeah,
they usually
yeah,
make. And
yeah.
when you said roll with the pack, I could not agree more with you on that
Mm-hmm.
because it's business is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think for most of the people listening, you're trying to do it yourself because you think
Yeah,
that you want to be the main guy, the leader. But at the end of the day, you'll get someplace much faster if you have a
yeah,
team.
yeah,
And the second
yeah,
thing you said, people before profit. And I
yeah,
think, again, that's a long term thinking thing because
yeah.
obviously, if my back's against the wall, I'm thinking of profit because I got to put food
Mm-hmm.
on the table. But
Mm-hmm.
understanding that if you treat those people well, you'll make money with them for years
Mm-hmm.
to come.
Mm-hmm.
But if you
Mm-hmm.
screw them over, they're gone out the wind tomorrow. And now you're, again, one person with a target on their back.
So good. One of my very so good. Yes, 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 and yes. Right. One of my first mentors in multifamily. He said to me, David, I want you to imagine something. I go, what's that? He said, I want you to imagine that you go to sleep on the 29th of the month, and then you wake up on the 30th of the month or the 1st of the month. He said, and you check up your bank account. He said, and there's more money in it than there was 2 days earlier. He said, what would that feel like? And I'm like, that would feel pretty good. He goes, but it happens every single month, month after month. And he said, that's called passive income as an investor, but still active income as an entrepreneur. And then he said to me, so what are the components of an active investor in multifamily assets? He said, what is the number one asset for the multifamily investor? And then he paused and he let me go through all my line of crap. Your attorney, your construction guy, your property management guy, blah, blah, blah. I went through them all. And he goes, no. He said, listen to me. He said, the number one asset is your tenant.
Mm.
He said, the most important thing you have is your tenant. He said, think of it this way. He said, that tenant gets up every day, puts on their work clothes, whatever it is, nurse's uniform, cop uniform, construction, service, nurse, whatever it is that they do, they put that uniform on every single day. They leave their house, they leave their family, they drop their kids off at school, and they go trade their time for other people's money. He said, and then they come back to the residence, the home that you have given them. He said, and they sit in a clean, decent, affordable environment. He said, and then they pay their rent, and their rent pays down your mortgage, which increases equity. He said, the rent gives you cash flow, which allows you to sleep at night. He said, and it's the rent that creates your wealth. He said, and after a few periods of time, he said, the equity that they created for you, you can take out of that building, Dave, and you can go buy another building because now you got money down. You got a track record behind you. And it all happens because you service your tenants first. And when you service your tenants first, it sets up a law of attraction. And then the investors go, what's going on over there? And you teach an investor. That's what we do at Legacy Alliance. We teach investors and people who want to get into multifamily. We teach them the business because now the investor says, what are they doing over there? I wonder if there's an opportunity for passive cash flow over there. Can I have you work my money better than my 401 chaos, better than my stockbroker who's going in my pocket every single month and taking money out of my account? Can I come play in your sandbox? And you
Mm.
begin, but you dial it all back, bro. It's the tenant in the very beginning. So that's the biggest asset in this business of the people, for sure. 100%.
So you've gone, I mean, for those listening, you've done wholesale, you've done flipping. Obviously, you had a TV show at A&E.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you must have flipped a lot for you to catch their
Yeah.
attention. And then
Yeah.
you did multifamily. Now you're teaching people how to do multifamily. I really
Mhm.
want to know more about the TV show, but I want to just ask you real quick. What is your favorite asset class right now? Is it multifamily, flex space,
Yeah, it's
commercial?
great.
There's so
No, it's
much.
great. Yeah,
I
it's
don't.
great.
I'm asking because I don't know where to go, and I was just with Pace Morgan. He told me RVs, RV
Yeah.
parks. I'm like, okay, well, let me hear
Yeah,
what Dave has to say
Pace is
about
a cool cat. I know Pace. I know Pace.
that.
He came up to me. He was in a mastermind group with me down in Tampa, and him and Jamil were about to pop their show on A&E, and he's like, "What's it going to be like?" I said, "Just be true, bro. Be true to yourself. Whatever you are, be that on camera. Be right. You know,
Mhm.
don't get the head game that goes with it." And he's done a great job. He's done really well. So for us, right? Your question is, what's the asset class? And I hate to do this again because it sounds like a deflection, but the answer is yes. The answer to what asset class do you like? The answer is yes. We stay pretty agnostic. So as a private equity company working other people's money, I'm delta driven. So I got to have decent margins in there to be able to reposition the asset, whether I do ground up construction, flex space, whether I do ground up multifamily. I'm looking at sober housing at the moment. I had a
Mm.
great meeting yesterday with a gentleman who's been able to flesh out a good sober housing plan. So instead of getting, I don't know, 2,800 or 3,000 for a 3-bedroom unit in a 3-family or a triplex, you can now go in there and you can make 700 per bed.
Mm.
So if you've got 10 beds in a 3-family unit, you can go in there now. Now you're at, a serious amount of money per bed per month, right? So it really is a financial strategy which has people first, profit second attached to it, because you're serving the community that needs help. Man, they need help with their addictions and stuff. So I'm looking at that as a real nice business model to get involved with. We're still looking at multifamily as much as we can, which again is the education space. There's going to be something of around $1 trillion in commercial multifamily notes that are going to reset through 27, 28. So if there's that much opportunity, I can't buy them all, right? I can't underwrite them all. So we teach a student base. We're looking to get to like 50 to 75. I don't want any more than that. This isn't an education company to make money. This is an education strategy to create business partners to bring us deal flow because they underwrite them. Now, if they like the deal and they want to keep it themselves, God bless them. If they want some help financing them, we'll do what we can to help them. If they want us, to be a shareholder in that deal with them, then we'll bring all of our skill sets to the table. So multifamily is always going to be a great asset. I like self-storage.
Mhm.
We're a nation of buying stuff. If the market goes in one direction or another, everyone needs a storage unit, right? Get that stuff out of the attic, put it in the garage. Get it out of the garage, put it in the storage locker.
Yeah.
And the average time that a locker is rented is around a year and a half. A
Yeah.
year and a half before they turn over. And even the ones that don't pay, you open up the door, you auction out the contents, and whoever buys the contents has to pay all the back rent. So you're still making money. So that's a great asset class as well. So we're delta driven. I want to see a good delta. I want to see a good story, a good business plan. I want to see conservative underwriting. And if all of those boxes are ticked and they're in markets that make sense for us, markets that are driven by job growth, rent growth, the medium income is a good number. We're not going into areas where the medium income's 70,000 and below. We like to know where people can pay their rents. So it's an ongoing
What's a
process.
good median income for you?
We
What are
like
you?
to see 100 grand and above.
Wow.
100 grand and above. The median price for a house right now in Boston is over $1 million.
Right.
So we've seen the chaos. Now in Florida, the median income, depending on the market down there, we like to see 75 to 100. It's a lower price point for housing and for rents. But 5-10 years ago, it was 50,000. Right?
Mm.
The population was getting older and older and older. Florida's turned the corner. Now the population's getting younger. The average age is around 45, where it used to be
Now,
around 60.
going back to the median income
Yeah.
question, Is
Yeah.
that for public storage unit, or is that for your is that your buy box for apartment buildings as well?
Yeah, that's that buy box for apartment buildings.
Oh,
So
okay, all right. I got
storage,
something new.
yeah, so storage is driven by supply and demand. So I
Right.
don't have the numbers in front of me for underwriting it, but you're going in a 5, 10, 20 mile radius of where you think you either want to build one or take one over. And then you want to
Mhm.
look at the amount of storage that's available per capita, right? Per population within that area. And I think it's a self storage.com. There's a community, whatever. There's a like a society that kind of
Yeah,
runs this data, and you can search for that stuff online. But that's not one part of the decision making, right? That's
of
just
course.
one box on the underwriting template. But in the multifamily space, we like to see a good medium income. We like to see some job growth. You want to make sure people are moving into the area, not out of the area, for obvious reasons.
100%. I always tell people that you want to see population growth and you want to see, um, rents kind of steadily rising.
Yeah,
But where I'm buying mostly, the median income is 60,000, fifty five
yeah,
thousand, something like that.
yeah. What
So
market? Where are you?
we're buying a lot in Montgomery, Alabama. I
Yeah,
think it might
yeah,
even be a little lower now, but
yeah,
it's good because we go the Section 8 route, and it's
yeah,
easy because I'm able to get my students and my people to buy something. Right, it's hard for them to go and buy $1 million property.
yeah.
It's very easy for them to go buy $120,000 property. But I do give them the heads up that this is not the end all be all plan. This is to
Hmm.
get you in the door.
Yeah,
Step one, get your feet wet because the first deal is always the hardest. And it's
sure.
not hard because, the tenants are bad or the fridges break or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
because of fear.
yeah, for sure.
And so
Every
my
time.
thing was get them in early,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Otherwise, you're going to take that $30,000, $40,000 down payment. You're going to go buy a new car like most people
yeah,
do,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Put it
yeah,
into an asset,
yeah.
learn the game, advance in the game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Appreciating
now
and
I'm like, okay, well,
depreciating assets. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
For sure.
So I'm going to put that in my notes. I'm going to look for markets in the $100,000 median income and see what homes are selling for there to see if the
Hmm.
numbers make sense. But I
Hmm.
like that. What else do you recommend? What are you buying right now, like that excites you the most?
So it's interesting. I'm a real estate guy, but COVID created an opportunity that I think personally is going to be huge. We're early in the research on it, but there was trillions of dollars of EDIL money, emergency money that came through the SBA loan program, right? So these are government loans ranging anywhere from, on the small end, a couple of 100,000, the high end millions, to
Hmm.
businesses that could document how they were impacted by COVID. And what we began to see is we're now getting into the default stage for a lot of these businesses. Now, these businesses can be anything from a landscaper, a plumber, a tax accountant firm, right? These firms all got impacted dramatically when that happened. So they threw all the money at it. But now we're seeing defaults. So with defaults comes opportunity to start looking at some M&A, some mergers and acquisition stuff. So we're early. There's data to support that it's definitely an opportunity. But if you find an opportunity and you want to take it over, that government loan goes away because they've already failed. The
Hmm.
government's not going to take over Bob the accountant's company, right? They're just going to put that in write off.
Hmm.
But Bob's firm, Bob's business, Bob's history, Bob's customers, they still exist. So can you go in with some money and take it over and turn that deal around? It's kind of like the
I
Warren
like that.
Buffett model. Yeah, yeah. There's a
Where
lot
do
of
you,
opportunity.
is there a website to find these failing businesses, or where do you find it?
Yeah, a lot of it is word of mouth. There's brokers out there. You can look for business brokers. If you Google that, you'll find some brokers out there. They'll
Hmm.
have some resources for you. You can go to the SBA website, Small Business Administration. Remember, you're dealing with the government, so they never move fast.
Yes.
But a half a million and below was an unsecured loan.
Mm.
Unsecured, right? Plus, it's a business. It's not a personal. It's not a personal loan. So there's very little recourse. When you think of the way the government spends our money, it doesn't surprise me that it's as lucid as it is.
Right.
Um, and the current administration is a business oriented administration. So they don't want to see bad paper kicking around any more than anybody else does. So when there's
Hmm.
bad paper kicking around, you gotta execute on it one way or another. So if it's pennies on the dollar, it's pennies on the dollar. If it's write it off, it's write it off. It is what it is. So business brokers will definitely have some good resources if you want to explore some of that stuff.
Boom. Guys, you see, you're not just learning about real estate. I love businesses too.
Sure.
Businesses, to me, are more fun. They're more
Mm-hmm.
work, of course, but they
Mm-hmm.
also
Mm-hmm.
can make way more money
Yeah.
than
Yeah. Yeah.
they do.
Yeah. There's more
Um,
people in businesses.
yes, I like that. I like that a lot. That's
Yeah.
that's my little golden nugget for my personal self right there because I was actually looking at acquiring a couple of more businesses under my belt. I just
Mm.
sold off two of the smaller companies that we've owned.
Mm-hmm.
Great profits, but at the end of the day, now it's about opportunity costs. Same thing
Yeah,
with
for
what you
sure.
talked about earlier. If it's
Yeah,
not making X, Y, and Z, it's not worth my time to run those businesses
for
anymore.
sure. For
And
sure.
even
For sure.
and for the most part, they were ran by other people. I had managers, I have
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
COOs and all that stuff, but it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
not worth the time. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
even for them to call me and for me to
Yeah.
jump on an hour meeting, it's just
Yeah.
I don't want to occupy mind space on something that is not generating the income that is to my next level now. And
For
again,
sure.
I'm not arrogant. I just want to. We're in life. We're
It's a
chasing
business
growth.
decision. It's a business
Yes.
decision. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to sell. It's okay to
Yeah.
buy. It's okay to hire slow and fire fast. It's all
That's right.
okay, right? It's
Yes.
okay to do those things. So I'm with you there too.
It's okay to fail, guys. It's okay to fail too.
Yay!
That's the big one.
Celebrate the
Yes.
failures. Yeah. Fail fast, fail forward, fail often, and celebrate.
Where did you learn that?
Experience, man. Experience being around entrepreneurs who tell the truth, right? You can go online right now and you can see some asshole with a Rolls Royce and a private jet going, money, right? If that's your guy, God bless you. I don't want to talk to you, right? I like the guy who says, you know what, Dave, I screwed up. I lost my father's retirement account. I did this, I did that. I like the guy who says I lost it all and I got it back. I like the guy who says I got it back and I put people first and profit second. I learned my lessons. So I surround myself, and it's a tight knit group, but I surround myself with entrepreneurs who have definitely failed often, failed forward, but
Yeah,
never given up. Remember, never give up. Never.
that's
It's
it.
the firefighter mentality, bro. Somebody's in there. I got to keep going. If I'm in there, my boys will never give up to find me. Right? We
That's
saw
right.
that on 9/11. We saw that over and over and over again. So I bring that to business. So I've guy said to me one time. He said, Dave, you're going to pay for your mistakes, bro. You're going to pay for your education one way or another. He said, you can invest in me as your mentor and you can buy my mistakes. He said, or you just go out into the marketplace and screw up on your own and pay for those mistakes. He said, but I promise you, you're not going to, everything you touch will not turn to gold.
That's
It
right.
won't. It won't. No matter who you are. I had a guy reach out to me today and he was looking at an ESG fund, right?
What's that?
ESG is um, ec- um, it's economy, sociology, and growth. It's like where we're only invested in companies that are green, companies that are, about equality in the marketplace, right? And I don't want to get political, but it's kind of like the woke mentality around business, right?
Hmm.
If coming out of COVID, it was like everybody could invest in healthy building technology, right? Healthy buildings, like it's gonna have a green leaf on the outside of the wall so that you're in a healthy building. Well, they saw all of that going on and the noise was so loud they create these ESG type funds, and BlackRock had their biggest losses ever in their ESG fund. They sorry, they said they shut it down. People lost money in it. And a guy called me today and he said, hey, there's this group in the Midwest. They got an ESG fund. Do you mind giving it like 2 minutes of your time and let me know what you think? And
Hmm.
it's not my wheelhouse. I
Yeah.
don't invest in that environment. But as soon as I saw ESG on there, I just said to him, yeah, look, Cam, Google ESG, see what you come up with. I said, it's not my expertise, but so there's plenty of options out there. There sure
Yeah.
is. I like sticks and bricks, bro. I like common sense.
Yeah.
I just do. I like common sense investments.
Every time I've jumped into something that was wild or especially something I didn't know, I always lost money.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
now
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, you know
yeah.
what? I just gotta stick to what I know, and unless
Mm,
I have
mm,
control, right? I'm not
yeah,
gonna put my money in it. And the reason why I say
yeah,
that is not because I don't trust the people that are pitching me, but it's like, well, what do I learn if I give them 100 grand or $200,000 and they blow
yeah,
it?
yeah,
What did I learn? I learned oh
yeah,
shit, I shouldn't do this.
yeah.
But if I were to take my own money and invest it and blow it, what did I
Mm-hmm,
learn? I learned all the
mm-hmm,
mistakes that I'm the one committing the mistakes.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
so that's
mm-hmm,
worth it to me than
mm-hmm.
just giving 200,000 to a syndication or something like that. I mean, I'm not nothing against syndication. I'm just giving it as an
No,
example.
no. Listen,
Like
listen.
businesses
You're
raising
speaking my
money.
language.
Yeah.
You're speaking my language. Watch this. Watch this. Watch. This is so freaking important, bro. Why should I just give my 100 grand over there to them if I'm not going to learn anything? Right. That's kind of the statement.
Yes.
Which is why we created Legacy Alliance. My moniker has always been an educated investor makes a better partner because that's what it is. So we at my team will actually go through and find out what it is that they know.
Mm.
If they're not up the gradient on my business model, I don't care how much money you got. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Right.
If you said to me, Dave, I got 200 grand, it's sitting in a whatever, an account that's not doing anything, right? And you said to me, Dave, what can you do with it? I say, well, our business model is to 2 to 3x that money over 5 to 7 years. Used to be 3 to 5, markets changed, now it's 5 to 7. We need a little more time. And you say to me, great, I like that kind of investment. And I would say to you, okay, good. Do you understand the investment? Well, I know a little bit, Dave. I know people got to pay their rent, and I know they got hurricanes in Florida, and I heard that the insurance costs were high. And that's all you know, for example. I'd say to you, well, here's what we're going to do. You're going to go through the Legacy Alliance Wealth Masterclass, which is a training on multifamily investing. And at the end of that training, you're going to answer a little questionnaire there. And if you pass that questionnaire and it makes sense to you, then you can invest with us. If you don't know what you're doing, I don't want your investment. Now, if you then say to me, okay, Dave, I like that, but can I shadow what it is you do? And I say to you, yeah, you can shadow me, but you're going to have to listen. Your opinion is not warranted nor wanted here, not because
Hmm.
I'm a big ego guy, but time is money in this environment, right? And we got to move fast on all of these things. You miss 2 or 3 calls, doesn't make sense. You weren't motivated. You were just a talker. You weren't a doer, right? So I like what you say. The educated investor who sees a pro forma, they see a syndicated deal. There's syndicators who are just raising money and getting in the middle of shit. And then
Hmm.
there's syndicator operators like us. Like we
Yes.
do our own stuff, right? And that's the difference, I think, in that environment going forward. The other challenge is this: how can you scale? Like you said, if I'm not in control, I don't know if I want to do it. I'm going to push back on you, brother. I have to, Brian, because if you try and control everything, you're going to end up not controlling anything, right?
That's right.
Because especially if you want expansion, right? If you
Yes.
want if you want to turn over a retirement account to your kids, 15, 20 years from now, that is sitting in perpetual cash flow with little to no tax exposure, little
Mhm.
to no tax exposure, millions and millions of dollars. If you want to leave that to your kids, well, you might not be able to do that if you control everything, right?
Mhm.
That's the alliance piece. That's why it's legacy alliance, partnerships, following in the footsteps of guys before them. I'm not doing M&A on my own. I got a couple of guys who are in that space, some investment bankers, some private equity guys, some venture capital guys. And I'm like, teach me the business. I sat down with a guy, teach me this sober housing business
Yeah.
model. Where's the breakage, right? Where do things go wrong? So you've got to be able to answer those questions, and that offers scalability going forward. Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense. And that's why I said I'm not opposed to syndications, but I got to be a part of what is it, the GP? Those are the guys who
Yeah, you
actually
got the LP and the GP.
help.
Yeah,
We
and
want
you
to be
could
the
be a
guys who are
part.
actually making the
Yeah,
deals happen or in the
yeah,
rooms of decision making. Whereas
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
just an investor, you know,
Yeah, no, for sure. And you got to understand what you're reading when you look at the documentation to support those investments.
yeah.
See, the thing is a GP is limited. right? It's limited. You can't put 20 GPs in a deal. You
Hmm.
can, but you're buying yourself a bunch of headaches.
Right.
So I would suggest, if you know, I'll coach you. If you're like, Dave, I got 200 grand. I say, yeah, you can come in on a GP. You can sit in on the monthly meetings, the quarterly meetings. You can have first look at the documentations. You can see where things are going well, where they're not going well. But paint colors, kitchen colors,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. I don't, your opinion's not needed in here. We've already executed. But for your learning capacity, come in as a GP. You're going to have to put more money in, but you'll
Mm.
get better rewards, right? Better returns on that money because you're sitting in the GP component. But the other part of that is you sit GP in 1-2 deals. Now you know what you're looking at as an LP. Now you got scalability, you got repetition, right? You got consistency going forward. But it's an exciting world. But it's a money world, bro. Now it's
That's
now
it.
it's money. You're in finance.
I want to ask you this because you have kids too, and this is important. What are you doing to leave wealth behind in the form of knowledge, but also in the form of all the things you built for your kids?
yeah. My kids are all set up in various trust agreements and stuff. There's investments inside of those trusts. They don't know it. They don't need to know it yet.
You don't need to know.
But I've got a team of guys that have protected me along the way because I didn't
Mhm.
know what I didn't know, right? So asset protection, wealth creation, retirement strategies, tax strategies are huge. The
Mhm.
biggest bill that most people pay is their tax bill, right?
Right.
So, I teach my kids taxation to the best that I can at 13 and 15. They got to understand it now. Taxes are designed to tax working class. And the
Yes.
reason they're designed to tax the working class is because the business owners need the tax breaks to make the businesses grow so we can employ more people so that they can pay more taxes, right?
Mhm.
There's more workers than there are business owners. This tax the wealth shit is just shit. It's garbage. It doesn't make sense. You tax me into the dirt. I can't employ people, and if I can't employ people, there ain't any taxes coming in, right? So, all of those are knowledge base, but the details of how these kids are taken care of afterwards, that's a flow chart that I understand 90% of. I'm okay with 90% of the flow chart of wealth. The other
Same.
10%, I leave that to the geniuses. Those guys can, I trust them. I trust them.
This is a personal question, but what's your take on life insurance? I feel like it's been a big topic lately. Are you
Yeah,
pro life insurance
I'm
or?
yeah, I'm not versed on it. I obviously carry life insurance. I carry life insurance for my businesses as well as for me personally. I know some guys who use it as infinite banking, I believe they call it. Like you can use a
Yeah.
life insurance policy and you can borrow against it. And I've heard about it, haven't deployed it. I'm in first grade on it. If it comes
Yeah.
across my desk, I might ask some more questions. My business partner in Legacy Alliance, gentleman by the name of DC Fawcett, very well versed in it, very well
Mm.
versed in it, has set up structure and strategies that people can choose to get involved with it through us if they want to. But it's not my wheelhouse. When those questions come, I defer to the experts.
I love it. But
Yeah.
that's also very important. You have a team of experts around you. So you
Oh,
don't have
yeah.
to know everything.
Oh, dear God. If you're the smartest person in the room, my brother, you're in the wrong room. Get out. You're just stroking your ego, dude, and I don't care. You know what I mean? I want to ask questions. I don't want to tell people what to do.
That's right. Well, guys, I think this is going to wrap it up right here. We can go on and on for hours and hours because honestly, I have
Yeah,
a
we
lot
could.
of questions for David, but I think we'll probably bring him back on a follow up episode
Yeah,
with
let's
more
do that.
questions based on the comments. I want the comments to type, you
Yeah,
know, what questions should we ask Dave? What more do you want to learn from him? And we'll bring
yeah,
him back on to the episode.
yeah,
But Dave, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to jump on our podcast, to educate, to teach, and to actually just tell us your story. I'm fired up
yeah.
because
Good. I am
I'm
too.
pumped. You know, where can people find you? How can people, follow you, but also learn
Yeah,
more about your program? Because I think
yeah,
your program is different in the sense I've invested in syndications, and I don't like it because they don't tell me shit. They're
yeah,
not
yeah.
teaching me
I got
anything.
you.
I'm not learning anything. They
Yeah,
took my money, and
yeah,
obviously in the economic climate, I haven't gotten a distribution or anything, so I'm kind of like, this sucks. But
yeah,
yours sound interesting because you're showing people, you're
yeah,
educating people. So even if it goes all the crap, which I know it won't because you're good, they're learning.
Yeah.
And learning is a form of winning, guys. It's our
Yeah.
tagline. So where
Yeah.
do they
Yeah.
find
Yeah. Yeah. Look, if you want education, if you want to understand this business, we put some stuff together. I even got props here. So let me show you this first of all. We wrote a book. It's called Inflation Nation. I know it's backwards. If I turn it that way, it's still backwards. Inflation Nation is a hard copy book. And what that talks about is that financial component that we were discussing, right? What is inflation doing to you? I mean, the average American is getting kicked in the ass for about $7,200 a year just in inflationary expenses. So for me as an entrepreneur, and I know for you, inflation is not a bad thing. I know how to capitalize on it. And that book will teach you how to do that through business strategies. If you don't want to read a book, you can go to Inflation Nation, the movie. We shot a 1 hour documentary. And my team will give you all these links for the show notes. But it's just
Okay.
good stuff. Do
Yeah.
something with it and your life will change. Do nothing with it and you'll keep on getting what you've been getting. I don't want to be cheesy with it, but we've worked hard to put this stuff out there. If you like that, or if you already understand that, then jump in with us at Legacy Wealth Masterclass. And that's a program free, once again, that's going to teach you the business. Now, I had a resistance to free because there's no value in free. You know,
Mhm.
it's got no
No
teeth
skin in the
attached to
game.
it. It's got no skin in the game. But what I found is that it will eliminate the wannabes and the people who are serious and not just curious about this stuff. They tend to complete the course. And when
Mm.
they complete the course, they can then come with us and start sharing some deal flow. We teach them how to underwrite. We teach them how to make offers. We teach them how to talk to sellers and brokers, etc. So they can get all of that good knowledge in there and they can come in that way. And then they can also partner with us. We've got access to capital. We'll talk to capital partners if the deal makes sense, etc. And then finally, if they already understand all of these things, right? Kind of like you know the business enough to be able to look at a deal and say, okay, I'm comfortable with this, but I want
Mhm.
more education on it. Then somebody like that can come to us through straight through our investment firm at Freedom Venture Investments. So you can come straight in, see what we got in the pipeline, see what we're raising for. So there's a number of different ways on the business side. You want to shoot the breeze with me? You can find me on America's Most Wanted. No, that's not right. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just punch my name in on LinkedIn, Dave Seymour. Let me know that you heard us shooting the breeze here on this podcast, and we can go from there. See if we can build a relationship. So it's all good.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dave. And with that, guys, if you guys got a lot of value out of this episode, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and follow us on all social platforms. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.